Hi guys, it is March 18 and I wanted to share something that God showed me last night actually. And I'll just be a little bit more open and say that I've been in that season where I know that God has told me something and shown me a promise that He's put on my life. He's shown me a purpose that He has for me and hasn't given me all the details yet, but He's given me a lot of them. Granted, He's given me these things, but I'm still in that season where it's not, I haven't seen exactly what the Lord has told me. He hasn't brought me into that next chapter yet. So I'm sitting and waiting and trying to steward that time well. And how I steward that well is really spending time in the Word and spending time with God and making sure that I'm not just sitting around and thinking that, oh, because God said this, like then it'll just happen. I'm trying to still do the things and listen to Him clearly and do what He wants me to do during this time and not just be waiting around. Granted, this time can be a time where it does test your faith. In true transparency, it's been a time where I've really questioned if I've heard God clearly. Because for me, what He showed me, I'm basically saying the opposite of it right now. And so to remain rooted in Christ and staying firm and having faith that He will do what He said He would do sometimes can be challenging. And so God brought me to this story in the Bible when it was about the Israelites. And when they were in the wilderness, God took them a different route. So God could have taken them the route that was 11 days, I think it was. And instead, He took them a way that took 2 years. And it's a hard acceptance sometimes when God is like, okay, you know what? I'm going to give you this thing and I have something for you, but you're going to have to wait 12 years for it. Or you're going to have to wait 10 months for it, because I think as humans we're like, oh, we want it now, like I want that now, it sounds so good, like I'm excited, God, but I want it now. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, where it's like, okay, God, I'm ready. And I had the realization, I think a few days ago, I was like, God, I'm not ready. Don't give it to me yet. I have some things I need to work on. And I'm realizing this through the changes that God's making in me and the things that He's teaching me. It's like, oh, okay, there actually is a lot of work that needs to be done still. And I see what you're doing, Lord. You're preparing me in the wilderness right now for the promised land. And I wrote down here, it said, it was in the wilderness that the Israelites learned that God provides. And this was when manna came from heaven. They learned that God directs, and it was in the wilderness that they were trained for small battles. And these battles that they came up against trained them for the larger battle to come. And I think that they probably felt a lot of frustration because they're like, God, like, you said you were going to bring us to the promised land. Why is it taking you so long? Why would you take us out of, they almost wish they were back in bondage, because for them, they didn't understand what God was doing. And He was taking a while, and that frustrated them. And it's funny because the devil will always rush us if he can't steer us off the path. And I know that that's what the devil has definitely tried to do to me. And I've fallen into that trap before where I tried to rush things. And instead of taking something that God told me He would do and taking it back to Him for guidance, I took it and I ran with it in my own understanding. And that always fails. But the good thing is God has grace and love. And He already knows that we're going to go that route. And I think when we turn back to Him and have honesty with Him and be like, hey, God, I'm sorry I messed up. I'm learning, and I'm open to keep learning. So guide me and teach me, because we should always be learning and God's the teacher and constantly taking things back to him and asking for him to teach us and guide us. And because as much as we think we might know something, most of the time we don't. And God's the only one that can provide us with the knowledge and guidance in those situations. I also wrote down that it took one day for the Israelites to leave Egypt, but it took 40 years for Egypt to leave the Israelites. That's how strong bondage of the mind is. They had to realize who they are in Christ. And that's so good, because for me and my season that I've been in, sorry if I hit that, it's been a time where I had to let God do a lot of heart changes in me. I sat before this I guess it was a time when I fasted, and those changes are still happening outside of fasting. But before that, I was sitting there thinking, very comfortable in my walk with God, very comfortable in who I was. I don't think I was searching to grow and make more changes. And God quickly showed me that that isn't who I'm calling you to be, and that's not the relationship that I want you to have with me. And so I had to have an openness to have those heart changes made, and God made a lot of them, and he's continuing to do so, because in order for me to receive the next chapter that he has, those heart changes had to happen. The wilderness had to happen. The hurt had to happen. The heartbreak had to happen. I wouldn't have gone through these changes if I didn't go through that. And so now I see and have an understanding of the why. And God will give me all the who, what, and when the time is right. For everything else, he only gives you certain details because he wants you to come back to him and look to him for guidance. And I just know that God will bring me out of this season, and he'll only do it when the time is right and I have the tools to enter into the next chapter without, I guess, getting destroyed for the battle that's to come. Everything he's doing inside of me and in my heart and instilling in me is to prepare me for that next chapter, because there's going to be battles. I know that God has great plans for all of our lives, and life is going to have challenges, especially if you're following Christ and you're living for him and he has a purpose and you're walking in that purpose. Then the challenges really do come. And so when we have these seasons of darkness and struggles and trials, they're just testing, and they're just instilling all these tools that we need in order to fight what's next, because it's going to be even larger than what we're in now. So we'll be so grateful for what we went through that prepared us for that battle. So that's so hopeful. And I just try to think of this every time I'm having a really bad day and I'm like, gosh, like, what is going on? Why is this happening? I don't understand it. And then I'm like, wait, God, you're doing something now. And what is that? And I just have to sit in the word and try to listen to what the Lord is telling me and what he's trying to change inside of me and do in me and instill in me, so that I'm in this season of learning and preparation for the battle. So yeah, that's all I just wanted to share. I pray that you guys are having a beautiful day or night, and that God just blesses you in the season you're in, and he's just preparing you for what's next, and that you're open to being a good learner, because God is a great, great teacher.